as Dave said, what an awesome weekend for Bison Athletics to go 5-0. Lots of people in the stands, good crowds. It was fun to be a part of that, and to be sitting in a different position than we have been as of late. With a 3-1 record and at the top of the conference. That's a new spot for our kids, and it's a spot that we obviously want to be in, and a goal for ourselves each and every week to continue to rise. But it also comes with a conversation of what got us here, and understanding that it's not out of superstition, but out of preparation and discipline to continue doing the small things, the details, the communication, to increase where we are and to stay where we are. So I'm really proud of the attention to detail that we've had, and I think that's a testament to where we are. And again, we saw more of that this morning, so I'm very optimistic as we are heading into a bye week, so we don't play on Wednesday, but then head out to Western Illinois for Saturday.
With the let up, or do the girls need it, or is this important for you guys to kind of have that Wednesday off this week?
I think it's important. It was great to have everybody here just for Christmas break and not a lot of distractions, a lot of time in the gym. And so we made that be our routine. And now with school back in session, it'll be good to have a day or two to get all that under control and get back into a routine again before we travel. I'm not concerned. We've got great leadership that continues the conversation outside of the locker room. So I think the break is coming at a good time for where we are. Injury-wise, health-wise, be able to work on ourselves for a couple days, elevate just our fundamentals before we take on another opponent.
Obviously, you still have some goals that you'd like to accomplish this year. That said, is this as good as you felt about a team as the head coach since you've been here?
I guess that's taking me back to some of the moments and some of the days of year one, which went by very, very fast. So I can't remember all those details. But I do feel very confident and very comfortable with where we are. That doesn't mean we're complacent, but I feel that everybody understands their role. Everybody knows the culture, understands what we need to do on the court, off the court, in the classroom, socially, prioritize, things like that. So I feel more comfortable and more confident that it's not just the coaches doing the conversation, but that the locker room is echoing that when we're not around. And so I feel really good about that, which then obviously only helps us feel good about how we play and perpetuates us forward.
Earlier in the season, you talked about how your team was making progress, but not at the pace that you would like. Do you feel like that pace is caught up to with what you were hoping for?
Yeah, I think in some respects, absolutely. I was discouraged, or just it was an eye-opening experience for me. I thought we'd be one place, and we weren't quite there. And so during that time, it was necessary for me and for the coaches to kind of take a step back and say, okay, this isn't an excuse, this is a reality. So now where should we be in 10 days? Where should we be by conference play and things like that? And so with a little bit of an adjustment, coupled with our players' just dedication to being in the gym and the focus and watching film, I think that they've sped it up a little bit. And so where we are now, I feel like we're in a good spot. They understand what hard work will get them, and so they're being more willing to be more consistent in a number of categories, which is only going to pick up the pace of which we continue to grow.
Do you notice a change in attitude of the girls when it's practice? I mean, winning probably gets them, I would imagine, a little bit more excited to practice and stuff like that. Have you noticed that versus earlier in the season?
I think anybody, any coach at any level would say winning makes everything a whole lot better. And I would definitely echo that. But I will give our kids a lot of credit. When we weren't winning, they were coming into the gym very focused on what coaches had asked them to get better on, focused on the film and the film study. And so I see something different, but it's not like they weren't doing it before. They now come in with a little bit more of a relaxed look. They still have the focus, they still have the communication, they're still watching film, they're still driven to improve, but I see a little less tension. I see a little less tightness. I see a little bit more willingness to be a little bit goofy, which is good. Obviously we don't want to get willy-nilly, but I like seeing kids be themselves and not be so focused that they're overthinking. And I think we are seeing a little bit more of a relaxed focus as opposed to a irritated focus or I want this so bad I'm going to not look at anything else. I think it's a very healthy balance that they're demonstrating right now.
How important has the loss to NDSU been on this run? I would imagine it was kind of a motivator. Okay, we can compete with these top tier teams.
Yeah, there's been some conversation, not a lot, but the conversation that we have had is, we knew we could do it. And how hard our non-conference schedule was prepared us for that, and almost validated or gave us a little bit of confidence of what we went through. There was a reason, and we were getting better. And we talk about it a little bit, but it's much more what is going well and why are we being successful, regardless of who the opponent has been.
8 girls available. I'm listening to the pregame show on the radio, and it took me back to last year, where that was really almost you were down to small numbers, it was difficult, all of that. It was a different outcome this year. You guys still rallied together. You were missing big contributors even. How is the conversation different? How is that result different? That even though you're down in numbers, it's not going to take away from the success you guys had started.
Right. I think you have one conversation with the returners, because they've been in that spot, and they were like, okay. They kind of looked at me like, why are you telling us this? We've been here. And then you have a different conversation specifically with Riley Nudell and Sarah Jacobson, who were going to get significant minutes and who needed to understand what Nudell's role was going to be, which was slightly different, and making sure that Sarah, as our point guard, understood the situation she could put Riley in and what to avoid with Riley as our 5 player there. So it's 2 different conversations, but I got the news that Wednesday night, and I texted our staff, and I was like, this is the update, and a couple responded in the group text, with emojis of different things, and I was like, we're fine. We'll figure out a way to make it happen. I'm not worried about it, because we have been in that situation. And I think you talk about past experiences preparing you for what's happening right now. Do you want to play with 8? Absolutely not. Do not get me wrong. I'd love to have 12 every single night, but unfortunately or fortunately, we've been in that situation, and so I personally wasn't upset or nervous or overwhelmed with it. It was like, well, this is what we got. Let's talk about what we have, not what we don't have, make the most of it. And a lot of different kids rose to the occasion that night.
Those 2 freshmen you mentioned really stepped up, particularly on Wednesday, to have great games. Your confidence in the future, and I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but to see them rise to that occasion, is that everything you recruited these girls for? Was that something you knew maybe before they knew that they were capable of?
Yes, and the big picture is, when taking over a program and rebuilding something that has a phenomenal history and a phenomenal past, is about the opportunities that you have right now. And all of our freshman class had opportunities to go elsewhere, and they chose to come here because they knew that they could be a contributor and they could be a part of something special right from the beginning. And certainly those 2 North Dakota kids understand that maybe a little deeper than the rest. Not that the rest don't get it, but can live it and can see it because of who they are and where they've come from. But at the same time, it's what are we doing right now? How are we improving from game to game right now? I have not looked much further down than Saturday. I've got great assistants who are looking at how other teams are doing in our conference, but I have really not looked much past Saturday, much less into the future, because these kids are growing at such a great rate right now. The 2 North Dakota kids, but Riley Jacobson, Anna Good Hope. She's a kid that nobody really has talked about for a long time. And again, when you only have got 8 people, your name gets called a little bit sooner. And are you ready because you put in the time at practice? Or are you going to let this opportunity slip by because you feel sorry for yourself? And I think we all saw the side of the coin that kid's on. So it's there's opportunities for these kids, and then that's why they're here. And they have grasped the opportunities and are willing to get better each and every day.
I know you've been looking for more out of Anna Good Hope in a lot of different areas, but with the offensive skills she showed over the last week, has she earned a bigger role for you going forward in conference play?
We talk her role, and a big part of her role is the energy piece. And she's a outgoing, charismatic young lady who is going to be the life of the party, and then she's going to cry the next second because, she's unhappy with something. And we like that about her. And so for part of her role, she understands her role will expand when she demonstrates more consistency, when she can demonstrate a fuller, deeper knowledge defensively, and her willingness and desire to absorb contact. And so I think we all saw her offensive part, and that's great for her, and that gives her confidence to do some of the other maybe less glamorous things that by the time you're a junior and a senior, you fully understand that's what's the the total package. But as a freshman, sometimes that's difficult. Again, I'm not exactly sure the numbers that we'll have this weekend, but she's definitely earned more confidence in my book, and I think in her teammates' book as well, and which is great. Makes us a little bit deeper, makes us allows us to play a little bit faster and keep the subs and the rotations in. So she's definitely holding her end of the bargain up very nicely.
Do you anticipate getting anyone back healthy with the week off here?
Yes, our medical staff is working well. Stephanie Ebel is our trainer, and she is doing double duty with some of our kids. And hopefully we can get Emily Spear and RJ, Riley Jacobson, back. Again, that's not my call. Their long-term health is far more important than one basketball game, in my opinion. But they've both been doing great in rehab, seeing doctors, moving along at the right pace. So hopefully we'll get some more depth with them back.
Seems a lot like your team. They thrive in those high-scoring games, averaging just over 80 points a game. This is a team where if RJ and Emily are healthy, you have a size advantage in the post. What do you see from them? What's the game plan for a team that's got so many scoring threats, and how do you attack them on the offensive side of the ball for your team?
First of all, I don't think we really screw up what's gotten us this far. So I think we've done very well, specifically defensively, being able to switch with 4 guards. So I don't really foresee that changing a whole lot. And part of our success there is then being able to have mismatches with Autumn Ogden and Riley Nudell, and you get some folks who can pull their defenders away from the basket or have foot speed over their defenders. So I don't see our style changing a whole lot. But Western comes in, they want to put up a lot of threes by a lot of different people. They like the dribble drive, so our ability to contain the basketball, whether that's with 2 post players or 5 guards, will be very, very important, because I think we've demonstrated that we can play in transition and we can play fast as well. And it'll come down to, especially on their home court, being able to contain them. We will not be able to stop them, but be able to contain and limit their opportunities.